Well, good morning. Welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. Hope your day is going well. We're in the Gospel of Mark. We're in Passion Week. We're in Friday of Passion Week, where Jesus is put on the cross. The crucifixion, I believe, is one of the two most important things that happened in the Bible. I believe the crucifixion and the resurrection are the two most important events. And so today we're at the crucifixion. Says at the 6th hour darkness came. This is verse 33 of Mark 15, if you're following along. At the 6th hour darkness came over the whole land until the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? Jesus was probably put on the cross around 9 o'clock in the morning. Around noon, it gets dark, and around 3 o'clock is probably when Jesus died on the cross. And so this kind of gives you some time of the days thing there. And he had some sayings on the cross. Mark records one of them. He records and actually puts it in Aramaic. Aramaic would have been the language that Jesus would have spoken. Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? I thought we might take time today just to go through the 7 sayings of Jesus on the cross, what he said on the cross that is recorded. We have to look at Luke and Mark and John to find these. Luke records 3 of them. The first thing that Jesus says is while he's being put on the cross is, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. And what a huge prayer is for Jesus not to be bitter that they're putting him on the cross, but he says, Father, forgive them, for they know what they're doing. The second is with the 2 thieves are on one side. One of them begins to mock Jesus and say, if you really, come down and take us down. The other thief says, listen, you and I deserve what we're getting, but he hasn't done anything. He's innocent. And then he looks at Jesus and says, remember me when you come into my kingdom. And Jesus says, today you will be with me in paradise. You will be with me in paradise. And that's recorded in Luke 23:43. And then John records that Jesus' own mother is there at the cross. And he looks down, and the only disciple that came was John. And she looks down upon John and the mother and says, woman, behold thy son, behold thy mother. In other words, he's saying, John, I want you to take care of my mother. And history records that he does. If you go to Ephesus today, where John is reported to end up being the pastor there, or the bishop there, you can visit today the house where they believe that Mary lived in, and with John, very impressive sight, very neat thing. Come go with me to the footsteps of Paul, and you'll be able to see that at Ephesus next October. But he gives that cry of provision. And then, probably in the time of things, the Mark one, Eloi, Eloi, sabachthani, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? This has bothered a lot of people. The most common translation on it is that that's the time when God placed all the sins of the world upon Jesus. And of course, that did happen. The Bible tells us that happened. But it's also a song. It's the 22nd Psalm. And Jesus is quoting the Psalm. I wonder if he chanted it or sang it the way they did. Maybe on the cross he wouldn't have been able to, but at least he started it. That's how that psalm begins. And it begins, if you read the 22nd Psalm, it's very interesting. It begins, he feels like God has forsaken him, but then he knows better. And then it kind of ends up being more of a psalm of victory. And that's exactly what's happening on the cross as well. Then there's the Jesus goes, I thirst. They try and give him some vinegar and things, and he doesn't want them. And all. And then there's the cry of triumph, which we find, I believe, in John 19:30, when he says, it is finished, teleos, it's done, it's finished. I've completed salvation for humanity. And then I think the last cry recorded in Luke is, into thy hands I commit my spirit. And those were the sayings of Jesus on the cross. I've often said that that's not the signs of a dying man, but that's the signs of a man who knew how to live. I mean, think about forgiving people, making provision for people, still soul winning on the cross. Finishing salvation and submitting himself humbly to the Lord as he died. It's powerful. It's just tremendous. And I hope as you walk through this day, you'll realize what a Savior we have, and walk with the Savior today because of what he did for you on the cross. Well, we'll continue looking more at the cross tomorrow, and then we'll look at the resurrection the rest of the week. Blessings upon you today, and I hope you have a blessed day. See you tomorrow.